President Trump and Elon Musk falling into an intense feud over the president's major tax and spending bill. Politico reporting earlier that the two men would hold a phone call today, but when NBC News asked White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles about that report, she said there are no plans for a call today. For more on that fight and what it could mean for politics and Tesla investors, we want to bring in Eamon Javers, CNBC senior Washington correspondent, Phil LeBeau, who is CNBC's auto and airline industry reporter, and Steve Kovach, who is CNBC technology correspondent. And Eamon, why don't we start with you, just from the Washington angle on all of this. You were there at the White House yesterday reporting on this as it was all happening with some pretty head-spinning rapidity of how quickly these things were coming.
Yeah, it was astonishing yesterday, Becky. I mean, it's one of those events where, it was shocking but not surprising at the same time. I mean, you're covering this incredibly surprising thing developing, or incredibly shocking thing developing in real time, but it's a thing that people had been predicting for months would happen. I think what was surprising about it was just the idea that it came so quickly, right? I mean, Elon Musk was in the Oval Office with the president a week before this blow up, and they were both heaping praise on one another. The president even said yesterday he was trying to help Elon Musk with his black eye. Musk had a mysterious black eye in the Oval Office. The president said, he tried to get him some makeup to cover it up. Elon didn't want it. And you felt President Trump, through the day yesterday as this was beginning to unfold, really handling this with kid gloves. And Trump is not somebody who handles many people at all with kid gloves. He was really delicate about this and trying to say, well, we have a disagreement, but I've always liked Elon, and I hope we don't have bad relations going forward. He hasn't said anything bad about me. And then just this deluge of negativity and hostility from Elon Musk, up to and including saying that he thinks that President Trump should be impeached and removed and replaced by J.D. Vance. So it's just an astonishing cascade of vitriol from Elon Musk toward the president, who was, in his way, trying to handle it very delicately.
Yeah, I mean, the lack of impulse control.
I love you said that, Eamon, in his way. That's what we said earlier.
Yeah. In his way,
the president hits hard. To call the president, I was somewhat sympathetic for his position. The president doesn't get sympathy very much because he's a big boy. But also call him
almost hurt.
I know, but to call it him measured is also not the word that you always use. I don't think, but you'd have to say.
But all of life is relative.
Right, all of life is relative.
The way Trump has been dealing with this has been absolutely measured, Joe. I mean, he has been very cautious around Elon Musk. Musk was out there criticizing the big, beautiful bill, the president's signature legislation for the year. The president didn't respond for hours and hours and hours, just kind of let it go, right? Which is totally out of character. I mean, Trump is the ultimate counterpuncher, and he was kind of handling, Elon in a tissue box, wrapped in bubble tape, trying to make sure that this didn't blow up, and then it blew up anyway. Here you've got Elon Musk, criticizing the president's signature legislative initiative, the big, beautiful bill, and saying that his tariff initiative is going to cause a recession in the second term. So criticizing the president's biggest economic agenda item also of tariffs, and then also linking him with Jeffrey Epstein and saying that he was in the Epstein files. I mean, he's attacking all of his legislative and political ideas, and he's attacking, who he is as a human being, whether he's a good human being or not. I mean, that's across the board, everything.
Yeah, and this had immediate fallout in lots of areas. But, Phil, primarily the way we were watching it was in the stock market, where Tesla shares were down 16% or so, almost instantaneously.
And that's because the president wields enormous power and has the capacity, and frankly has shown it, that he will use his power if he is not, if he thinks that you are part of an entity that has done something wrong. You need proof of that? Take a look at the universities. Take a look at Harvard. And look how hard he has hit Harvard. What if he decided, I've had enough of Elon. He's popped off enough, and I'm not going to put up with it anymore. If he makes that decision, look at all of the government agencies or the way Washington wields regulatory power that could influence the Elon Musk empire. You've got robotaxi launch next week. NHTSA has a lot to say when it comes to autonomous vehicle technology, the regulations, the investigations into specific automakers if they want to. You've got the FAA and NASA who are in charge of SpaceX launches, missions, approval of missions, And then finally, you've got the FCC, which oversees Starlink. What if the FCC sits there and says, we don't like the power that Starlink has? Maybe we think Starlink should be curtailed. There is any number of things that could be done here, Becky. XAI. What if Trump says, I think the DOJ needs to investigate XAI? It would not take much for him to make real headaches for Elon Musk's business, and ultimately that's the concern that investors should have. Yes, it's kind of fun to watch this Real Housewives of Hollywood back and forth on social media, but if you're an investor, you want to be focused on what are the potential implications here.
Clearly, Steve, in the first Trump administration, it was really kind of the generals that President Trump was talking about, his generals all the time. Yeah. He had brought up front and center. This time, it really seems like it's more the billionaires, right? The tech billionaires.
The tech billionaires specifically,
have been that he's collected on this, and it's been such a close relationship in so many ways. I mean, earlier this week, we had Omid Malik and Donald Trump Jr., who are investing together in all of these projects, and some of their biggest investments are XAI and SpaceX.
Right. Not to mention all the crypto stuff, by the way.
How does that kind of work out from this position? How do you break that all down?
This is why I see it, because last summer when Musk kind of in a full-throated way came out in favor of Donald Trump, he gave a lot of his peers permission to do so as well, right? And so what we saw after the election, we saw all those overtures to Trump. We saw all the trips to Mar-a-Lago, the dinners at Mar-a-Lago, the money donated to the inauguration, and it all culminated in all of those men that you were talking about standing behind Donald Trump at the inauguration. And what did they get for it? Not much. I mean, so look, Google is still going through its DOJ case. It's in the remedies phase right now.
Apple.
Well, we'll get to Apple in a second. That's even worse. FTC, Mark Zuckerberg was in the White House every day trying to convince the president to stop this antitrust case from the FTC. That moved forward. Apple, let's get into that. We all know the tariff situation. We all know the threats they are calling out Tim Cook. There's nothing these guys have been able to sort of give the president in order to say, hey, get off my back, right? It's like I've been comparing it over the last couple of weeks to, remember that book we read as a kid? If you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to ask for a glass of milk.
Sure.
That is Trump's attitude here. What else can you give me? Not what can I give you?
What's actually maybe a little refreshing on all of this is we think it's so easy to buy influence in Washington.
It's not.
Maybe not so much.
It's not. It's like you have to do everything. It's like you give the glass of cookie, you have a glass of milk. By the way, you have to come to Riyadh too, or I'm going to call you out.
You don't know the counterfactual.
What's the counterfactual?
It could be much worse if you didn't.
Well, that's the thing. What is worse, though? How is it? Tell me how it's worse for Apple.
President Kamala Harris might be worse.
Worse than you think she would be threatening Apple with tariffs
for them
and
for them and the whole country, Steve. Yeah, that's how I feel.
But you think for everybody, you think Apple would be down 20% under a Kamala Harris presidency? I don't think so.
But it just wasn't. I don't think they backed Trump just because of what they were hoping that they'd get from.
No, they saw what Tim Cook did in the first time.
Part of it is that. Part of it's deregulation. Part of it is.
But they're not getting that. They're not getting a lot of that. The EV mandate stuff. I mean, that's part of the reason Musk is mad. He's not getting that.
Like I said,
Apple's not getting tariff relief.
Maybe it's tougher to buy influence in Washington than we ever.
Or at least with this president, it is. I mean, and in such an overt way too. So much of this would happen with lobbyists and so forth.
Yeah.
Here we have the principals themselves paying this money. Tim Cook, $1 million of his own money.
If it was working.
Yeah, right. Maybe it wouldn't matter if it was working.
And so,
at what point do these guys just give up now? It's what my question is.
If you were seeing some type of special treatment for that money, that's all you'd be talking about.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, so
no, but
you're not happy either way.
It's not about being happy or sad. It's just fascinating
to
watch.
Maybe it's good Trump can't be bought. How's that?
And what does that say about these executives who thought they could buy him?
Oh, $1 million from Tim. That's like me giving, someone a couple of dollars on the street.
Yeah, do you think he was happy giving that up?
I'm not sure. He has
$1 million is still $1 million. I know he has one of the top pay packages.
He's got thousands of millions.
Yeah, I just don't buy the idea that Apple would be in the position it is now under Kamala Harris, because it's so much of what we're seeing in that stock is because of tariffs. She did not have a tariff.
Steve, I don't even want to think about it. Some of us can't even fathom what it would be like.
It would be just chaos.
Hey, Eamon, what happens today? We've heard that the idea that there was a call scheduled, that's not on the books for now. We anticipate things go maybe a little quiet for a few days.
I mean, your guys' conversation, we don't, the answer is we don't know, right? I mean, there's going to have to be some effort to de-escalate this, and we'll see where that goes, and we'll watch all the social media throughout the day. Your guys' conversation reminds me of the old, there was this old saying in the underworld, that you measure a guy's integrity by the fact that if he's bribed, he stays bribed, right? And, that's kind of where we're getting with this conversation, right? With unlimited political money in the system, and these huge billionaires willing to engage, and the president willing to engage in very transactional relationships.
Or is it transactional?
And I think, well, right. Is it transactional? Or do they think it's transactional and then they don't get the transaction that they think they paid for? Right. The other, I think, thing here to think about is, Elon Musk's arc in American society. He is as influential an industrialist as we have maybe ever seen in this country, overseeing cutting-edge technology companies in all these different fields, the richest man in the world. I mean, and you look at, so what's the predicate for that role in American society? I keep thinking back to Howard Hughes as a cautionary tale for Elon Musk, who ended up, the veil between genius and insanity can be very thin sometimes. The drug abuse of Howard Hughes and his tragic ending. And you just hope that Elon is not heading on a similar arc, right?
Toenails and fingernails in the urine.
The urine bottles.
Yeah.
Don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was on
that
the top
genius
floor of
and
the
wealth
DI.
and insanity.
Desert Inn. Yeah.
But by the way,
It's a
this is
toxic
not new
group.
behavior from either of these men. Like,
No,
this is not, it's just now they're going at each other.
Yeah, watching it wash up
Yeah.
against each other. Phil, very quickly, we'll jump out on this, but I was kind of thinking yesterday, boy, maybe Boeing's in better graces all of a sudden, because the first thing I thought on hearing this was, A, there goes Mars, and B, wow, I would not want to be on the International Space Station right now. That was before they even started threatening this stuff.
Yeah, look, I don't think that any of the threats that Elon made yesterday he's going to follow through on. I just don't. I think that it's possible, but I think it's a very low likelihood that he'll do things like decommissioning some of his rockets, etc.